We are a holistic, diverse ministry for the entire family, grounded in love in order to save the lost, disciple believers, build strong families, and be change agents for Christ in the community. We call ourselves life changers because when you connect with us, our core values of the welcome, the worship, the word, and the witness will change your life forever. Need a change? The new life experience is simply life changing. Welcome to eChurch. And today, tonight, or whenever you're watching it, it's all about the series on Juneteenth. The series on Juneteenth. And tonight, I'm talking about a moment in Ziklag. A moment in Ziklag. Now, you know this text, but I need you to look at it through a modern day lens. Before we get into that, before we get into me sharing the word and teaching the word tonight, I want to just say to you, first of all, I'm so glad that you are part of our eChurch. eChurch is every Wednesday night, and I have a series that the Lord placed upon my heart. And before we get into this series tonight, I want you to do a couple things. First of all, I'm going to be telling you to put things in the chat area all the time, not because I just want to see stuff in the chat area. It's because I want to make sure that people who watch this later, or even watching it now, that we create such a community of back and forth and collaboration, and you share what you got and somebody else shares what they get. And then that just heightens the moment. It heightens the revelation that all of us get. I also need you to share it. I need you to do some watch parties. All of those things will help all of us to learn the word even more. And I know that our eChurch community, that we are all about, all of us rising up so that we might understand, know, and live a better life for Christ. It's only going to make things even better for us. Now, I want to give you the opportunity to give as well. I want to give you the opportunity to give. They're going to be putting where you can give, how to give, on just beneath, so you can see it right on the screen at all times, as well as you can give on our app. You can give in so many ways. You can give online, on our website. You can give, even text to give. There are multiple ways that you can give. If you're in the area, we're in the shadow of the arch. If you're in the area, you can always just come by and do old-fashioned. Get that envelope and give that way. Either way, come on, bless God's house, because the word says in Ezekiel, if you bless the Lord's house, he will bless your house. As well as just want to also extend to you the opportunity. If you're watching, if you're not a life changer, you can still plant. Your tithe belongs to your local church. Your tithe belongs to your local church. But you can plant a seed here. And if you plant a seed here, both of us will grow, because we're good seed and we know that you are too. Let's get into the word. Ready to get into the word tonight. It's all about a moment in Ziklag. A moment in Ziklag. Turn with me to 1 Samuel 30, 11 through 19. Now, I'm going to read a little bit more than I normally read, but I need you to get the whole story. Need you to get the whole thing, and then we're going to really launch into giving it an exegesis and a hermeneutic that is applicable to today. Now, we said, now what is all them words coming out of your mouth, Bishop? Exegesis is us really just breaking the text down, who, what, when, where, why, and how. And the hermeneutic is making an instructional application to today. That's all we're talking about. Let's read the word. 1 Samuel 30, 11 through 19. 1 Samuel 30, 11 through 19. They found an Egyptian. Underline that. I want you to get that. Put that in the chat area right there. You've been missing that. You've been reading this text a long time, and you never seen that African man in the text. See, we often overlook, even by ourselves. They found an Egyptian in a field and brought him to David. They gave him water to drink and food to eat, part of a cake of pressed figs and 2 cakes of raisins. He ate and was revived, for he had not eaten any food or drank anything or any water for 3 days and 3 nights. Listen, David asked him, "Who do you belong to? Where do you come from?" He said, I am an Egyptian. I'm an African. Remember, Egypt is on the continent of Africa. Today, we often say Egypt, we often say Chad, we often say several of the northern Angola, we often say even Israel, we often say Ethiopia. I'm going somewhere with this. We often say the northern part of Africa. Notice how we always call the countries of the northern part of Africa, the Middle East, and so on and so forth. Because by design, through the maturation of history and majority culture writing history, do not want to give that continent all its just due. That's why we often use those words and not Africa. Now, when we go down southern South Africa, when we go down to West Africa, when we go to East Africa, notice we always say Africa. But when we say those countries, we always reserve to say the word because we're trying to avoid, here we go, the identification of Africa in the text and African people in the text and in world history. Back to the text. Just thought I'd throw that in. That was free. All right. David asked him, who do you belong to? Where do you come from? He said, I am an Egyptian, the slave of Amalekites. My master abandoned me when I became ill 3 days ago. Ain't nothing changed, has it? We raided the Negev and the Kereths, some territory belonging to Judah and the Negev of Caleb. And we burned Ziklag. Now here's the guy that burned Ziklag. Now you already know what's going on here. David asked him, can you lead me down to this raiding party? He answered, swear to me before God that you will not kill me or hand me over to my master, and I will take you down to them. He led them, 16th verse. He led David down, and there they were scattered over the countryside, eating, drinking, and reveling because of the great amount of plunder they had taken from the land of the Philistines and from Judah. David fought them from dusk until the evening of the next day, and none of them got away, except 400 young men who rode off on camels and fled. David recovered everything the Amalekites had taken, including 2 of his wives. Nothing was missing, young or old, boy or girl, plunder or anything else they had taken. David brought everything back. Now, let me give you the context of what's going on here, and then I want to look at this from a hermeneutical way, from a way of application of today. Here is the exegesis of it. Here is the who, what, when, where, and why, and how of the text. Then we're going to make a leap into several points, clearing out how we then look at this through this whole series of Juneteenth. Remember that. Remember that. Juneteenth, we're looking at this through the lens of African Americans, and I already told you that it's very important that we see the text in our lives. If we do not see the biblical text in our lives, then God is not concerned about us. And we know that he is. He is. He is. Okay, the Ziklag moment. Here, a moment at Ziklag. Here we go. Here, you already know. This is the famous time in which David had to encourage himself. He had been off doing his thing with the mighty men. When they come back to the camp at Ziklag, the Amalekites, as we have read, have already raided them, took everything. The mighty men of David says, we're going to take you out. This is too much. We followed you. Now, as a result that we followed you, we don't have anything. Our wives, our children, everything is gone. They get ready to stone David. And that famous phrase or scripture that we often quote, he encouraged himself. He prayed. He went and got the ephod from the priest. He asked God, should I pursue? Said, pursue. Now we get to the point of his pursuit to get back everything. All right. Then he runs up with a brother. He runs up with a bro. That's right. The brother is there. The brother is there. And they made the mistake of saying, you are too sick to go forward. And they leave the Egyptian, the African, there to be a part of what God is about to do. Isn't that is powerful right there. That in and of itself is enough to shout and run around the room. The fact that you see that your heritage in the text having great impact with David now recovering all. Let's go down a little deeper. Here's the first thing I need you to get. Revived. They're about to be revived. Let's read it again, 11 through 12. They found an Egyptian in a field and brought him to David. They gave him water to drink and food to eat, part of a cake of pressed figs and 2 cakes of raisins. Give him some carbs, give him some energy, give him some fiber, get him ready to go. He ate and was revived, for he had not eaten any food or drunk any water for 3 days and 3 nights. Ain't we always, somebody's always leaving us for dead, ain't they? Make that mistake, don't they? Folks, leave us for dead. So let's go back. I want you to look again at this whole thing about this Juneteenth Emancipation Day on 1865 was supposed to start a new era to be revived, a black wealth creation. Here we go. Wealth, after 12 generations of being subject to slavery, institutionalized theft of our services, 4 million African Americans were now free to earn incomes and degrees, hold property, weather hard times, and pass down wealth to the next generation. That's what it was supposed to be. Juneteenth, of the last people, Africans being set free, 250,000 in Galveston, Texas. They would surely scramble up the economic ladder, if not in one generation, then in a few. But 8 generations later, the racial gap still exists. The racial gap still exists. The typical black family has just 1/10 wealth of the typical white one. In 1863, black Americans, African Americans, own 1/2 of 1% of the national wealth. Can I say that one more time? 1/2 of 1% of the national wealth. Today is just 1.5%. Just 1.5%. 8 generations later. Hear what I'm saying. All right? Got to be revived. All right? The cause of that stagnation has largely been invisible, but hidden through all kinds of laws, redlining laws, all kinds of laws, Jim Crow, all kinds of things until civil rights. But for every gain black Americans made, even during that time, people in power created, majority culture created new bundles of discrimination, largely hidden from sight, that have thwarted again and again the economic promise of emancipation. It's a common misperception that racial wealth gap is an unfortunate legacy of a bygone era. No. Systematic, baby. Systematic. From slavery to now. The myth goes like this. Slavery and Jim Crow bred black poverty. In the 20th century, millions of black families moved out of the South. Revived, we think. Chasing high wages in the urban industry. But after a few decades, the factories have closed, the inner cities decayed, and complex, tangible, or tangled up pathology that we have right now. Lower incomes and correspondingly low savings rates prevented blacks from transferring wealth to the next generation. In fact, the cost of elderly care hits that even more. The enduring barriers to black economic equality are structural rather than individual. I want you to get that. I want you to get that. You can't talk about being revived. Now, here is an African helping David to revive the economy of the Jewish people. It's in the text. He's helping them recover and revive the economy. There we are again. There we are again. All you got to see is the escalator into the middle class have slowed and stalled and have flattened out, and we're sliding backwards, baby. We're sliding backwards. And we think rushing off to the Sun Belt is going to make a difference. But in the Sun Belt, we have the same type of situations that were in the the northern situation. Got to be mindful that the growth that we hope that we will see and the revival that we hope that we will see, that we will not be as the Egyptian was, as the African was, reviving somebody else's economy. I want you to get that. Reviving somebody else's economy. Because that's what he did. Now, it was the hand of God. He was moving and all of that. But I want you to understand something. We got to be mindful, even in this day that we are in right now, we have to be mindful that we don't forget where we came from. Because you might be doing good, but everybody ain't doing good. Everybody's not being revived. And that's a misnomer that is dangled. That, oh, the individual. No, it's the institution that is laid out, the railroad tracks that do not lead to a greater wealth. What do you mean? What do you mean? When the pandemic hit, who was on front lines? Who died first? Who were all of a sudden essential workers in the grocery store and driving the metro bus? Get what I'm saying? Grab a hold of what I'm saying. Here is the Egyptian, the African, reviving that economy. And here we are again. Let's look at this second thing. It's rectified. It was rectified. What do you mean by that? It is canonized. It is legalized. Notice what happens in 15:16. David asks him, can you lead me down to this raiding party? He answers, swear to me before God that you will not kill me or hand me over to my master, and I'll take you down to them. He led David down, and there they were, scattered over the countryside, eating, drinking, and reveling because of the great amount of plunder they had taken from the land of Philistine and from Judah. We think that things have been rectified. We think things have been righted. We think things have, everything is good now. Here's what we think. Just send the data. There's some reason that we can think that. Here it is. Today, nearly 4.6 million African Americans hold a 4-year degree. Isn't that interesting? Yet the racial gap in degree attainments remain large, and it does not appear to be shrinking. Another serious blemish on this encouraging news is that the fact a large and fast-growing majority of these degrees are not held by brothers, but held by our sisters who are strong and mighty. I ain't throwing shade. Go for it, sis. But the fact is that we have to have men. The scripture is very, very clear about the order of the home. Very, very clear. And right now, we are making our men out to be, I have seen some of the most ridiculous pictures of black men in social media and all on, carrying on, because now, when you are not in your right place, you put on the person who is taking your place clothes. You miss what I just said. When you are not in your right place, when you are not the head, when you are not the leader, when you are not the one that has the job, when you're not the one and you have abdicated your position, then you take on the effeminate character of the one who is. And that's exactly what you see going on in our community. By design, we are erasing the black man. By design. Further information. At the time of the Harlem Renaissance in 1920s, about 10,000 American blacks, African American blacks, 1 in 1,000 were college educated. The editor of this journal, who was born in 1924, points out that the black child born that same year had about as much chance of completing a 4-year degree as playing shortstop for the Red Sox. Today, the world is totally different. 4.5. But that does not erase the fact of who's getting all of the degrees. The breakdown is as follows. According to the U.S. Census, 3,215,000 blacks in this country who who have bachelor's degrees, and there are additional ones who have more degrees than that. Here's the issue. Here's the point that I'm making. Just because we are in a situation where things seem like that they are better, we have to be mindful that we can still be taken advantage of. Notice the situation with the text. The Egyptian said, if you just rectify this situation with me, give me something to eat, I'll help you. I'll help you. And isn't that where we find ourselves so often? Just break me off a piece. No. The whole thing belongs to me. Why are you trying to say break me off a piece and I'll be satisfied? Isn't that where we find ourselves so many times? I can rattle off these statistics, and majority culture will rattle off these statistics and talk about, oh my God, look at where we have come from. Yes, but that does not make everything better. We have to recover. We have to recover. That's the third thing. Third and final thing, we have to recover. In verse 22, notice this, but all of the evil men and troublemakers among David's followers said, because they did not go out with us, we will not share with them the plunder we recovered. However, each man may take his wife and his children. Now, here's the text. David went out, and we read the text, the long text. He recovered all. There were some that said, you know what? They didn't go with us. They don't deserve to get anything. But David said, no, that should not be the case. David said, look, everybody should get a piece of the pie. Everybody should get a piece of the pie. Here's what we have today in our culture. We look at the Egyptian, the African man, who helped build this economy to the number one economy in the world. And as a result of him doing that, and his partner, our strong black women, as a result, what we get is pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. In a Judeo-Christian culture of a majority culture who will quickly tell us that we should follow this word. So if we follow this word, what does David do? David says, even those that didn't come along needs to get what everybody got. Bam! That's the book. David said, even those that stay behind, even those that didn't pull their own weight. And that's not the case with African Americans. So when you start talking about, oh, well, this we were left behind and you need to pull your own self up, you need to do this, you need to do that, that's not Bible. It's not Bible. Zacchaeus says, if I stole stuff from people, I will give it back even more. When salvation came to his heart, he wanted to get things right. There was restitution. And so should it be today. So should it be today. So the moment of Ziklag, the Ziklag moment, is the moment that we should have today. As we think about it and as we journey toward Juneteenth, the last freeing of slaves. And that's why I'm saying this ain't a month about what is that? Jim Crow? No, Geminis. Mm-hmm. This is not a moment about Geminis, okay? This is a moment about us understanding our plight, our place, our position, and the prosperity that we should have and be experiencing in this moment, in this year of 2021, Juneteenth, as we move forward. What's your moment of Ziklag? What's the moment in which you're saying, God, I need to recover it all? What's your moment? Is it your salvation? Do you know him in the pardon of your sins? Is it an unforgiveness situation? What's your moment of Ziklag where you say, I got to recover it all? Is it a moment in which you say, you know what? I need to be revived. I need to be rectified. I need to be recovered and restored. What's your moment? Are you a part of pulling things back together, but yet you don't feel like you're getting what is due you? make a decision for Christ. Make a decision to connect with this community. We call ourselves life changers. We're changing lives in our lifetime. All it takes is to text the word decision to 71441. Come be a part. One of the fastest growing churches in the St. Louis metropolitan area, where we take the text, exegete it, and teach you in a hermeneutical way that then helps you to make application to the life you're living today. The life you're living today. And all of the things that you're up against today, so that you can see that God has a word for you. The Lord be with you. May His face shine upon you and give you peace. Connect with us. Make a decision for Him. Connect with us on our online campus. Connect with us with respect to just coming to the church. Connect with us with giving your life to Christ or wanting more information to 71441. Text that word decision. God bless you. I'll see you next week with more Juneteenth series as we lead up to Juneteenth, where I will minister a word on Father's Day that deals with orange is the new black. God bless you. Bye now.
Life Changers, before you close eChurch, don't forget to give your tithes, offering, and generosity matching. There are multiple ways to give. May God bless you, and thank you for being a part of eChurch. IDEX Media does a lot. From IDEX Photography to IDEX Films. We help create forever memories and forever impressions. Image a nation, image a world. IDEX Media.